Hi, everybody. I'm Evan Brandt, and we're here for a special Off the Presses edition with Dr. Manan Trivedi. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
He is running in the 6th Congressional District, something he's done once or twice before, as I understand it.
Twice.
And we're going to have a conversation about where he stands. So, again, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I guess well, tell us a little bit about your background. You're a medical doctor,
Yeah.
as I understand it.
I'm a physician. I also served in Iraq with the Marines. I was a battalion surgeon for actually one of the first units of Marines to cross the line and enter Iraq in March of 2003. And unfortunately, saw a lot of action. And in fact, that's one of the big reasons I decided to sort of take this path. I didn't grow up thinking I wanted to run for Congress or anything like that, but
No.
I know there's people like that out there. But frankly, for me, it wasn't sort of something in my head. But my time in Iraq was very formative. And sort of learned a lot about myself, my country, what it really means to go to war. And I started asking a lot of questions about who's pulling the strings, who's pulling these decisions, and are we really doing things in the best interests of our country and our veterans and our military community. So that's a big part of my background that drove me to this decision. But also, as you mentioned, I'm a doctor. I work part-time here in Pottstown at the Memorial Medical Center and as a healthcare consultant. Yeah, look, I have a lot of issues with Obamacare. I think the president called it Obamacare, so it's okay to call it Obamacare,
Right.
Supposedly, whatever. And the biggest one is that it's not bringing costs down. Look, there are a lot of good things about it, that we expanded insurance access, that we covered adult-age children, that we disallowed insurance companies from discriminating against pre-existing conditions, that we removed caps for insurance. Those are great things, but there's a big thing here that the Affordable Care Act is not really that affordable yet. And if we don't make healthcare more affordable in the long term, we're not going to be able to continue these access expansions and these quality improvements. So,
Right.
As a doctor, I know how to do that. Look, 30%, really 30% of everything we do in healthcare probably doesn't make any difference at all in your outcomes. This is study after study has shown, experts, the Institute of Medicine has shown that nearly 1/3 of everything we do in healthcare doesn't improve your outcomes, actually probably makes you sicker, and obviously it brings costs up. Now, we just don't know where that 30% is right now, but we
Right.
can drill down and figure it out with an investment in what's called comparative effectiveness research, incentivizing best practices, disincentivizing things that doctors like me and my colleagues do, hospitals, clinics do, that just drive up the bill, but actually don't improve your health. I'm a hospitalist. This is what I do, part-time here in Pottstown. We take care of patients who are admitted to the hospital. Medicare just started this new rule that said if your patient gets admitted, or should I say readmitted, for the same exact diagnosis that you just discharged them for in the next 30 days, we're not going to pay you for that second visit. And surprise, surprise, doctors, like everybody else in the world, are driven by financial incentives. And they made sure that these guys not only weren't discharged too early, but had proper follow-up. That's the biggest thing, to make
Right.
sure they had the right medications, that had the right instructions to know what to do if things went awry. And what we call 30-day readmissions for the same diagnosis went down significantly. And this is just the tip of the iceberg here. And Medicare is starting to do that.
Ebola fast becoming an issue that
Yeah.
people won't stop talking about. Obviously, the infection rates in the United States are near zero. But what's your assessment of how it's being handled on the national level?
Well, first, I think we all should step back and really understand what Ebola is. I mean, it's a very deadly virus, but at the same time, the risk of sort of a mass epidemic of Ebola in the U.S. is extremely rare. Given the fact that it's not, like a common cold or influenza, even that you can pass it by sneezing and airlines. You need to sort of come in contact with bodily fluids of an Ebola patient. So, sort of very sort of more, I don't want to say intimate, but much more close contact than kids in a classroom. One kid sneezes and the whole classroom gets it. That's
Right.
not how it's going to work.
Right.
So I think we all need to step back and recognize, that's how this thing works. And right now, what we're sort of in is a waiting period, because the incubation period for Ebola is about
Right.
3 weeks.
Right.
And so we all need to know that as well, that say, hey, just because you're symptom-free now, if you came in contact with someone, you need to understand how long it can take. Obviously, if there are folks out there who have had contact with those who are traveling from West Africa, who's shows symptoms. You need to make sure that's, you go to the emergency room right away, you express those specific details. Those are the sort of high-risk categories. But if you haven't had contact with folks who are traveling in endemic areas and or contact with folks who are known Ebola cases, then it's a very low risk.
Let's go to another subject in the news. The Supreme Court just recently decided it's not going to review any of the same-sex marriage issues, and like it or not, it's become a national debate, and so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that issue.
Look, I've been fully supportive of marriage equality, and I've come out for full marriage equality long before it was sort of cool to do so. You know what I mean? I don't think this is. I never understood why this was an issue or why this was even a government question. People should be able to marry who they love, plain and simple.
Let's talk a little bit about the middle class in America. I think it's pretty safe to say that the 6th District is made up of quite a few members of that I'll call struggling class. I guess the issue that I would ask about is we see, I saw statistics the other day that job growth is now more significant than it's been in the last 12 years, that the economy's on the rebound, but no one in the middle class seems to be feeling any of it, and apparently a lot of it seems to be tied to a lack of growth in wages. Can Congress do anything about this?
Sure.
What measures can be taken to try and improve the lot of people who are not making any more money but are watching college tuition costs rise by 60%?
No, look, I think there's a lot, and I can't think of a bigger issue that Congress needs to address than making sure that we jumpstart the middle class, that we reinvigorate the middle class. That is a class that's sort of disappearing. We're getting a lot more haves and a lot of haves and a lot more have-nots, but nothing in the middle. I saw a statistic last week. It was that 86 people in the world control half the wealth of the world. 86 people. So this is just emblematic of sort of the growing disparity.
It's a very exclusive club.
Yeah, trust me. And so what can Congress do? A lot of things. One is to raise the minimum wage. Okay, first and foremost, $10.10 should be the minimum wage. This is a pro-business solution. Okay, I mean, small business groups have come out in favor of this plan because every time in the history of America that we've raised the minimum wage, we've jump-started the economy. There's been an uptick in growth because we all know that if you give millionaires and billionaires a couple extra bucks, they're just going to put it in their pocket. If you give folks who make the minimum wage a couple extra bucks, they're going to put it right back in the economy, right back on on High Street in our small businesses, buying new shoes for their kids or backpack or whatever, and really invigorate the local economy. It makes sense. Okay. Another thing is you mentioned making college more affordable. We need to make sure that we're not cutting Pell Grants, college loans that many have proposed, but actually going the other direction, bringing down interest rates for folks who want to take a loan for college. Right now, big banks on Wall Street can get very low interest rate loans, but kids who want to go to college, 10 times higher. That makes no sense to me.
Let's talk about another seemingly intractable issue, climate change. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Look, I think this is a crisis of our times here. Look, all these other things that we've already discussed may not matter if we're all underwater or boiling at 100.
I didn't want to be the person who said that.
And there's no doubt that we need to have serious concern to address this in a serious fashion. We need much more stronger plans to say that we're moving much more in a greener fashion, that we're reducing our carbon footprint, reducing our carbon emissions, and the idea that this is going to reduce jobs or it's either jobs or pollution, it's one or the other, is I think bogus in my mind. It doesn't have to be a be-all end-all kind of strategy. There are plenty of solutions out there that actually improve the economy, increase jobs, but also decrease our pollution and our carbon footprint.
But don't sometimes the solution give rise to more problems? So, for example, we all think it would be better to use natural gas than to use oil, but then in order to extract the natural gas, we have fracking. In order to use solar power, we need the high-value metals, and the mining of those metals creates new environmental problems. So, how do you get around all of that stuff?
Right. Well, look, you're right. Every step is fraught with its own problems, but I think there are ones that are better and ones that are worse. Simple, burning of coal plants year after year is going to continue to improve our carbon footprint, and we can shift to greener solutions. Natural gas, if it's done the right way, may be one of them. But solar, clearly, geothermal, hydroelectric, all these things together, windmills, all together combined need to be incentivized, invested in. And right now, look, there's no doubt that solar is a really growing field, but China and Brazil are kicking our butts in the production of solar panels.
So is Germany.
In Germany too, right. And so this is not just about the environment. This is, once again, even if you don't care about trees or the environment or anything, but you care about the global economic competitiveness of America. Right. This is where we should be investing in.
Right. Well, let's talk about residency for a minute. The 6th District's lines have been moved as a result of the census, and do you live or not in the district?
Right. I live in Birdsboro, which Birdsboro is in the district.
Okay.
That's the address. My house was drawn out by a couple miles here when they redrew the lines here. But look, I grew up in Fleetwood. Fleetwood is in the district. My mother still lives there. To question sort of my connection with this district, I think is ridiculous. These are sort of political lines driven by political motivations. In fact, I think they were trying to figure out which side of the bed I slept on to draw it that close.
I gather you've answered this question before. Well, is there a legal requirement that you be in the district?
No, you have to live in, as long as you're a resident of the state. And it's not like I'm living in Pittsburgh running for Congress in Philadelphia here. It's Berks County. Look, I have hiked further with a rucksack with the Marines than the distance from my house to the line for the congressional district. So these are political games that they play, and frankly, they play on both sides. If Democrats were in power, they'd probably have done the same thing to the Republican candidate. So it's unfortunate.